We're joined now by Dr. Casmir Ifeanyi, who is a senior researcher, health leader, public health and health systems expert. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight.
Yeah, God, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Good evening. Yes.
One can only imagine the shock, for our viewers, including ourselves here. I mean, many are hearing of this for the first time. Illegal ovum trading in Nigeria. Apparently, a lot of unethical practices going on, even with the health facilities and what have you. Help us understand how grave this is in Nigeria.
That particular report only scratched the surface. It's deeper than the report had just shown. A whole lot deeper. It's a big racketeering industry. Of course, it's as a result of failed health system. It doesn't happen in developed climes. Most practitioners who are complicit of this would quickly refer you to America, and they will tell you there are no regulations in America around this, which is far from the truth. Because even though there may not be a federal regulation in the US regarding donation, there are now a retinue of regulation across states. From Colorado to California, there are regulations. Many of them activated last year, and very many would come on board in the next 2 years, 2025. But having said this, the matter about egg donation is just like any other scientific innovation. Right. You see, whatever science makes possible must be judged for its value through the stream of life. Now, egg donation evokes medical concern. Egg donation evokes ethical concern. When it goes to the ethical concern, it judges the worth of human conduct and endeavor. When it goes to ethics, it queries morality. What informs our choices, our character, is for us in this part of the climb, religion and belief plays a whole lot of role. But the question remains the worth of human conduct. Now, these persons shown here, particularly the one placarded, that particular donor, as a foretaste, if you ask all the donors, they were not fully briefed. They were not debriefed. That process has its inherent challenges. Some leading up to things like ovarian cancer.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, issues about infection. You had her say that the last segment was a lot more torturous. Now, when you continue to do this hyper stimulation, you may even end up pushing the donor to become infertile later in life. Wow. Now, the point need be made that they are leveraging the lacuna and the contradictions in the National Health Act of 2014. You had the lawyer speak there. He quite succinctly mentioned provisions of Part 6, Section 48, subsection 2, that talked about taking of tissue and blood product from another living person and for purposes of merchandise, sale or commercial use. It's criminalized, but it's not activated. Right. Now, if you go to countries like the United Kingdom, since 2005, they have improved their regulations such that if you donate, you are fully credentialed. No anonymous donation. Reason, because the donor-conceived adult has a right. And so in most countries in Europe, the question about the right of the donor-conceived adult as it turns 18 is becoming rife. And in most parts of Europe, there's now a foreclosure on anonymous donation.
Right.
People must come do full identity disclosure. And they have provided in their legal framework that at 18, the donor-conceived adult can ask questions about the source of the egg used in giving life to him.
Now, interesting. You've told us, you've mentioned two side effects of egg donation, cancer, infertility.
Yes.
What are other implications?
What can be worse than, because you've been so hyper-stimulated, you may not be able to also give back to your own offspring later in life. What can be worse than that particular process can provoke ovarian polycystic ovary and ultimately cancers? or the infections you go through, the victim or the donor in that instance said so.
Okay.
Now, in countries like United Kingdom, since 1990, they had made a regulation, what had become known as the Human Fertilization and Embryology Act, that gave birth to the Human Fertilization and Embryology Authority that regulates these things. Why is this thriving in Nigeria? I will tell you.
Great.
We have Pretoria of regulation not activated, but there's something we need to do to strengthen the health system. All the private and public places providing assisted reproduction. What are they doing? Are they accredited to any known standard?
To start with.
Once we start that accreditation, it will lead up to something that is important, that has been done in most parts of the world. What is it? We need to now have national egg registry. So once you donate, your name makes that registry. It's important. So I expect, as we form this 10th National Assembly, I expect that our legislatures can pick and run with a bill for Human Fertilization and Embryology Act.
That is
we
where,
need it quickly.
That is where experts like yourself come in. I mean, you may have to actually, approach the National Assembly with all of these facts that you have at your fingertips in order to, many of them may not even know that this is even going on in Nigeria. Let's even talk about these donors themselves. Unfortunately, we're hearing they're so young females in secondary school, in university. How often can a donor, whether paid for or not, actually donate their eggs?
There are divergent views in literature.
What's the limit?
Yeah, there are divergent views in literature as to the number of cycles you can be stimulated to donate. Some authorities say 5 times, as many times as 5. But the point is that the more you go through the process, the more vulnerable to the concerns, to the medical concerns you become. Now, what had other countries of the world done? If you go to countries like Germany, Italy, Norway, Switzerland, Turkey, including Tunisia in North Africa, it is an offense, it is prohibited for you to use donor eggs for in vitro fertilization. If you go to countries like Spain, what do they do? Infertile couples that come, who are hyper-stimulated, of course, they throw up more eggs than normal. And so these eggs are retrieved and can then be subsequently shared, sparing third parties from this agony and procedure.
Okay, so that I was even going to ask, because thank you, you mentioned Germany and other developed economies. Science has made available to us interventions in matters of infertility and other issues of concern, of human concerns. Now, where do we draw the line between morality and legality? How much should you pay for egg donation, or should we take,
should it
even be paid for in the first place?
The sacred nature of life, of human life, is enough to restrain us. That is why I mentioned in countries like Israel, Denmark, and Canada, you dare not collect money for egg donation. It's prohibited. And so, like I've mentioned in Spain, what is it we do? An individual who has this challenge comes, and you're able to use this science you talked about to stimulate her to produce eggs. She doesn't need more than 1 or 2. No matter what you want to do. So the rest that you harvest can now be preserved in the banking system. So there's a lot we need to do in terms of systems, processes, and institutionalization.
Let me how can we push for the legislation you spoke about to have a national egg registry? How can we push for that?
It can come through the Ministry of Federal Ministry of Health. It can come as an executive bill. I expect the president, and particularly the mother of the nation, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, to be concerned about this huge black market of sacred human entity going on in our country, uncontrolled. The worries are the bourgeois are involved. The bourgeois, the big weights are involved. So, but nobody is stronger than government. Government is one of the enormous 4G. So I expect Nigerian government, particularly now that we have a government that believes in a lot of legislation and providing framework, to go into this early in time so we can curtail this menace. My worry is the export aspect of it, which your report did not highlight.
So there is an export aspect that may even be linked to kidnappings and
if we are averse to human trafficking
so
much so,
quickly.
then we must be averse to this racketeering of eggs, human eggs. Particularly if you look at the same part 6, section 50 of the National Health Act, it spoke about the use of reproductive treatment in human cloning. Now, we modeled the legislation at that particular place. We're supposed to separate human cloning and deal exclusively with the issues of reproductive treatment, which is the IVF, and make legislation. If you read that part, it also criminalized manipulation of genetic material, including gametes and zygotes, eggs and ovary.
Dr. Casmir, Ifeanyi, we must say a big thank you to you for coming on Newsnight tonight. He's a health system expert. A big thank you for coming. We just hope, so much. We just hope that the authorities heard you and will do something about it, and very quickly. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.